Yeah. So welcome again, and so this is, I think this is the last session, and after that we'll be discontinuing the prayers and meditations for some time. So two back-to-back 9 to 9 weeks we had, and I think we will just take a break maybe for now and see if there is any requirement. If people feel ready, we can take it up again or not. It's open. So we had this prayers of August 16, 17, 18, 19, sorry, and 20, back to back prayers with us. And there was a purpose behind sharing this. And also, I didn't find any talks. So that was a thrill that was added to the adventure, that there is no interpretation available to us. And it is on our own, whatever resonates, whatever we want to make it kind of practically relevant for us. And that's why I offered this to all of us, so that we can just go deeply or just talk to these prayers and see what comes out. Whatever resonates would be fine. Yeah. So who would like to begin sharing, your experience of going through these prayers, or your insights and reflections? I'm hoping that you have gone through them. We have, yeah.
A lot of things kind of came to mind for me.
Yeah, sure.
Um, to me, it's like it feels like her prayer is really for the earth and not for her, Mother here.
Yeah.
I went back and I read the prayer just before this one, and it kind of leads into it naturally. But all of these prayers happened right when the aria began, right after Sri Aurobindo's birthday, and so it's just a very powerful time as far as whatever was going on with Sri Aurobindo and Mother. But it really to me feels like she's speaking as Agni, like as the soul, and she's almost kind of speaking about the heart of integral yoga in these teachings or in these
Yeah.
prayers. I'm not speaking very clearly here, but it yeah, it really felt like that she was kind of providing an insight into an integral aspiration that I've never seen before, at least. Um, I don't think I'm speaking very clearly right now, but um,
Yeah, Eric, I lost you in between. So you said that it's the heart of integral yoga, these prayers, and after that your voice was just totally inaudible for me. So could you please come again?
You know, I'm gonna sit with this thought that I have for another moment and maybe hear what others' reflections are. But I guess for
Okay.
me, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm gonna listen for a moment.
Okay. Yeah. 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 Sure. So it's really interesting. Shilpi says I am in a listening mode today. Okay. Um, so, and we don't have anyone else. So it's either we just sit silently, all of us in listening mode together, and listen to the silences, or then we can just go through the prayer together, all the prayers together. Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. I wanted to end with these prayers, this 9 week thing. Um, yes, Shilpi, what are you saying? Yeah, read prayers together. Okay, great. Yes, yes, why not? It's a beautiful thing. Yeah, so you go ahead, you read the first prayer, then August 16. Yes, Shilpi. Okay, okay. So, Eric, would you like to start or shall I start reading the first prayer?
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to read. That'd be great.
Please. Yeah, please.
Okay. Okay. August 16th, 1914. For 3 days, I waited in an ardent prayer, hoping to see the new things, and all the obstacles surged up to veil, retard, deform thy manifestation. And now we do not seem any nearer the goal than before. O my sweet Master, why hast thou told me to leave the blessed place in thy heart and return to earth to attempt a realization which everything seems to prove impossible? What dost thou expect of me, that thou hast torn me away from my divine and wonderful contemplation, and plunged me again into this dark, struggling universe? When thy force descends towards the earth in order to manifest, each one of the great Asuric beings, who have resolved to be thy servitors, but preserve their nature's characteristic of domination and self-will, wants to pull it down for itself alone and distribute it to others afterwards. It always thinks it should be the sole, or at least the supreme, intermediary, and that the contact of all others with thy power cannot and should not be made except through its mediation. This unfortunate meanness is more or less conscious, but it is always there, delaying things indefinitely. Even if, for the greatest, it is impossible in the integral manifestation to escape these lamentable limitations, why, O Lord, impose upon me the cavalry of this constraint? If thou willest that it be thus, thou shouldest rend the last veil, and thy splendor come in all its purity, and transfigure the world. Accomplish this miracle, or else let me withdraw into thee.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. So, there was a purpose why I chose these back-to-back prayers, and one of them was that here we see that there is a kind of a struggle happening. Things are not all hunky-dory, right? Even when it's the Divine Mother herself. Uh, Things get foggy many a times. Things get foggy. Yet there is this certitude that we see in these prayers, and that is something which is worth kind of giving our attention to. That fog will keep on coming and going. Yet can we be in that awareness that as if the divine victory is already won? That falling back into this remembrance of who we truly are, yet again, yet again, yet again, because the worldly situations, the people, the relationships, the happenings of our life, sometimes they begin to become so intense, even when one is working selflessly uh, towards some higher work, right? Even then situations can become intense, and especially there, this remembrance of our true nature as the pure consciousness, as the divine being that we are, falling back into inward, falling back inwardly into that deep, deep certitude. That is something where we keep on recharging our batteries again and again. And that gives us more and more strength to go through the struggles, to maybe fix up something externally which may be needed to get fixed. Many a times we need to fix up externally things, and when we keep on connecting back to our source again and again, again and again, we get more and more strength to do the right action. Else we get so drained totally identified with the external situation, that we feel that, oh my God, the situation is frustrating. I cannot do it. I cannot do it. And this is what I saw in this prayer. Mother is saying, why did you ask me out of this inward contemplation? I was so happy there. I was so joyous there. But she also knows parallelly that she has this work to do for the whole mankind. She cannot just be in this inward divine contemplation. We, just like we also need to, from time to time, we need to interact with the word, interact with the relations, interact with the office members, the teammates. All of that is necessary. And yet at the same time, we don't have to forget ourselves in identification with those external happenings. So this was really very, very stark, something that came out of these 3 4 prayers. And mother says here, almost feeling a little helpless, why have you told me to leave the blessed place in thy heart and return to her earth to attempt a realization which everything seems to prove impossible? Why did you do that? Almost mother is feeling like, almost there I can sense a little frustration there. That, why did you put me into this plunge of this dark, dark, dark obscurity when I have tasted the light? you know what dost thou expect of me, that thou hast torn me away from the divine, that deep contemplative uh, stationing of awareness in the divine, the a kind of, when we are meditative deeply in our stillness. So mother is saying that, why have you torn me away from that divine unification and plunged me again to this dark struggling universe? Because mother doesn't see any end at the moment. The things may be so intense that she sees that, oh my God, the situation is really troublesome. My efforts seem so little in front of these big, big situations. So why have you done me this, this separation? Why have you created this again? And yet, and that's why these prayers are over like 3 4 days back to back in continuation. Almost a similar kind of a state is going on. This is very interesting to see. And then at the last, mother says in this prayer itself that, if thou willst that it be thus, if that is your will, if that is how it should go, please help, please, rend the last veil of ignorance. Of course, the veil is only of ignorance, right? When the fog comes, when the haze comes, and one is not able to see clearly the light behind the veil. So thou should rend the last veil, and thy splendor come in all its purity and transfigure the world, because it is just getting too much. It is just getting too much. That is, again, the mother prays for the universe, the praise for the mankind, that it is just too much. Accomplish this miracle, or else let me withdraw into thee. So this was just to share with you all that we go through such states. We go through such states when the situation is really foggy, and yet something in me knows that yet there is clarity. It may be just a factor of time that the clarity emerges and the fog disappears. So one has to, in faith, persevere through those frustrating, challenging, intense periods, in our life. Yeah. Yeah, so this was prayer 1. Let's see what is happening, in continuation, and just keep on sharing as and when you have any insights to share. So August 17, who would like to read?
Yeah, I will read.
Okay.
August 17, 1914. All errors, all prejudice, all misunderstandings must vanish in this whirlwind of destruction that is carrying away the past. The light must become perfectly pure, free from all limitation, so that thou can manifest thyself fully within it. Lord, Thou hast the power, and thou will realize this supreme miracle. Into this consciousness, thou hast put the certitude of victory.
Yeah. So as this intensity is going on, Mother sees that this intensity of destruction also has the capacity to carry away the past, then something can be newborn, something can be reborn again. So Mother uses this as an opportunity that along with the destruction that is happening, carrying away the past, may all errors, all prejudices, all misunderstandings must also vanish. They also go away in this whirlwind of destruction, so that we have a new field which is ready for, as if a new crop, that a farmer sows, a new field becomes ready. The light must become perfectly pure, free from all limitation, so that thou canst manifest thyself fully within it. This kind of a prayer rises in the being when one goes through that intensity, when one sees for himself that going through this, so much of intensity is such a pain, and yet one also sees the light behind that pain, and then this prayer rises up in the being. It as if it connects you with the whole of humanity, that if one person can go through such intensity and pain, how many billions are going through such pain? And then this rises in the being that, may your light manifest, may your light manifest for the ones going through darkness. Because once you have been through darkness in your own consciousness, only then you can connect with the others going through that darkness. So going through intensities in life is something which is like a blessing in disguise. It helps us connect with the other people also. So this rises in Mother's being, and Mother says, thou hast the power and thou will realize this supreme miracle. Mother has certitude in all the prayers. Certitude is there. It may go up and down, but the certitude remains, that there is a surety that the only ultimate reality are you. And therefore, whatever darkness, fogginess, challenges may appear, struggles may appear, and may appear very, very big in nature, they are nothing in front of who you are. So the ultimate certitude of victory is yours. Into this consciousness, thou hast put the certitude of victory. It's like a gratitude that Mother feels now, that this is as if you have put in my consciousness this certitude of your victory, which can never be taken away from me. This is growing faith, blossoming of faith, that no matter what challenges Mother is going through, the certitude can never be unshakable faith. It's not able to shake itself from the roots, right? So this is what we see, throughout all the prayers also. Yeah, and then again, in the next prayer, the experience continues in August 18, 1914. Yeah, who would like to read? Okay, Shilpi has some noise at her end. So, Eric, would you like to read it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, August 18th, 1914. Let me turn to thee in a profound and silent contemplation. Let me place this integral being and its multiple activities at thy feet as an offering. Let me stop all the play of these forces, unify all these consciousnesses, so that one alone may persist, the one which is able to hear thy command and understand it. Let me plunge again into thee as a sovereignly beneficent sea, that which purifies from all ignorance. I feel as if I have gone down very deep into an unfathomable abyss of doubt and darkness, as if I am exiled from thy external splendor. But I know that in this descent is the possibility of a higher ascent, which will enable me to span a vaster horizon and draw a little nearer to thy infinite heavens. Thy light is there, steady and guiding, shining without intermission in the depths of the abyss as in the luminous splendors, and a serene confidence, a calm indifference, a tranquil certitude dwell permanently in my consciousness. I am like a boat which has long enjoyed the delights of the port, and despite the dark storm-laden clouds which hide the sun, unfurls its sails to launch forth into the great unknown, towards shores unheard of, towards new lands. I am thine, Lord, without any restriction or preference. May thy will be done in all its rigorous plenitude. All my being adheres to it with a joyous acceptance and calm serenity. I have no longer any idea about the future. It is thou who wilt awaken the new conception, more closely answering thy law. In a most perfect surrender, and a most entire trust, I wait, thy voice showing me thy path.
Yeah, beautiful. This is so beautiful, this prayer. So this happens, um, when the identification with the external in the world, when the identification with the happenings, with the objective happenings of the world, when the identification with this limited personality becomes a bit rigid, then this darkness can come. When the challenges in external world are just a bit too much, and the identification with those challenges is also strong, one feels this fogginess, which darkness, or mother as she shares here, that I feel I have gone down into a deep unfathomable abyss of doubt and darkness. And this is what I wanted to share with all of us here, that you know it's the divine mother, and she it's beautiful with what humility she is able to put herself transparent, naked, as if that, hey, yes, I know you are there, yet I am feeling this abyss of doubt and darkness, as if I am exiled from thy eternal splendor. And at the same time, parallelly, mother says, but I know that in this descent is the possibility of a higher ascent. The deeper we touch our being, the darknesses that we touch through our challenges, the deeper we have the possibility to touch the light in us also. Mother says that there is a possibility of a higher ascent, which will enable me to span a vaster horizon. How a vaster horizon? Because then I'll be able to see that in the darkness of the darkness, hey, you are still there. The light is still shining. So I can allow myself to go through the darkness. I can allow myself to go through as much challenge as life presents itself with. Because even in the smallest particle, the divine is there. So why to be afraid of the darkness then? And vaster horizon, because then this fear, we keep on fearing that whether I'll be able to cope up here or there, or whether that challenge I can maybe take or not take. And then you feel so ready and ready. Yes, I can take up this challenge. If it has been given to me, there must be the strength I have that I can go through it. Vaster horizon, and draw a little nearer to thy infinite heavens. Thy light is there, steady and guiding, shining without intermission. I once, just a second. So I use this example, once I heard it somewhere, and I just found it so beautiful. That imagine that there is this sky that you are looking at, and it's a cloudy day, and there are dark clouds mostly all over, and only little blue patches of sky are visible. Now, only little patches of blue sky are visible. That does not mean that the sky is not there. It just kind of, shows up in intermissions because of the fog being there or the clouds being there. And that is what mother shares here. That mother shares that the light is there, steady. The light is not wavering. The light is there, steady and guiding, shining without intermission. It does not mean if I am able to see the sky in patches, it does not mean that the sky is there in patches, and in between where the clouds are, the sky is not there. The more I go closer to the cloud, the more I am able to pierce the cloud. I see that when I come out of it in the other direction, the sky is forever there. The cloud was as if just a facade, veiling the sky for a time being. Without intermission, in the depths of the abyss, the light is there. This is the beauty. This is the beauty. As in the luminous splendors. And just like when the day is clear and the sky is light and blue and shining, just like that the sky appears. Even in the cloudy days, the sky is the same. Nothing happened to the sky. You did not lose yourself, even in the darkest of your challenges. We can never lose ourselves. We can never lose who we truly are. And that's why there is nothing to gain. Only the veil comes and then sheds away after some time. So if we can rest again and again in that remembrance that I can never lose myself, the light of awareness is forever shining, then one can go through challenges even with increased vigor, and do all the fixations that may be necessary in the external situations, which from time to time are necessary. While if I am only identified with the clouds, with the veil of ignorance, with the veil of obscurity, then what happens is that, then I am too identified with it. I feel so limited that I'm not able to put the whole energy and effort in order to change the situation, whatever may be needed, whatever change may be needed in external situation. And when I keep a remembrance of my awareness of the light of my true essence, then I don't lose myself in that, that limited challenge. And even when the beauty of the divine is so great that even when I am losing myself in that challenge, when I rise through the challenge, I see that it was beauty altogether. I got to know something more about the universe, about myself. So one can never go wrong actually, either losing in the experience or being able to remember through the experience. That's the beauty. And then mother shares a serene confidence and a calm indifference. Why a calm indifference? That because the mother has been practicing again and again, stationing herself in this awareness, remembrance of who she truly is. And who she truly is already complete. Who we truly are is already complete. It is full, it is rich. So I need not be anxious about the change I want to make in external situation, because that will not add something or subtract something from who I truly am. And that is why an indifference. So I will still do the work which is necessary. I will still do the work which feels right. Yet I will not fuss about it. Yet I'll not become anxious over it. Because I see that who I am truly is already forever shining beautifully in all its splendor. Nothing can reduce the essence of that awareness that I am. And that's why a tranquil certitude and a calm indifference. And that doesn't mean that we don't go through ups and downs of life. We go through all of that. And in the middle of that, if we care to remember this true essence of the pure awareness that we are, just awareness, if we care to remember, then this tranquil certitude and the calm, serene confidence, they come again and again. We may lose them again and again, but they have also the capacity to come again and again, resurface as if. And mother says that this dwells permanently in my consciousness, no matter what challenges mother is going through. And then mother in the earlier lines, here in the blue, mother shares, let me, now she's undergoing this confusion, and also in the other prayers we read that this is something which we can use when we are going through confusion, when let me plunge again into thee as in sovereignly beneficency, that which purifies from all ignorance. Mother at one point of time shared in one prayer that there is a lot of confusion, but I see that the confusion is only on the surface. The moment I dwell deeply in the plunge of my being, I take this plunge in the depth of my being, I see that I can drench myself in this depth of silence, stillness, where everything is sure, the certitude is there, ocean of awareness is there. Nothing needs to be corrected there. And there we recharge our batteries and then rise up again to clean the muck, whatever is needed. So this plunges of our own self in the depths of our being. These are also, again, something which can be linked with that relaxation that I was sharing also on the groups, that one mother shares that one relax in the depth of your being, so that it's a pure relaxation and it refreshes you, it re-energizes you. Do not relax by uh, entertainment of a lower, in the sense, where you further drain your energy. Yeah. And then towards the end, mother is sharing that I am thine without any restriction or preference. So even when you are plunging me into darkness, I am thine. There is no doubt about it. I am thine, Lord, without any restriction or preference. And towards this uncharted territory, mother, as if she is hurling herself again and again, owing to the certitude that she has in the path, on the path. May thy will be done in all its rigorous plenitude. She is not afraid of anything that may break or shatter. That is the certitude mother has. May thy will be done in its all rigorous, may it be done with the rigor that may be required. Rigorous plenitude. All my being adheres to it with a joyous acceptance and a calm serenity. May whatever circumstances externally need to be shattered, broken, changed, whatever, for thy will, may it, so be it. So be it. So as if mother is signing a paper, giving her wholehearted sign on that paper, and it's a blank paper. One can write anything on that. I have no longer any idea about the future. It is thou who wilt awaken the new conception more closely. So mother is sure that as and when new things happen in life, the new conception of my own understanding will be awakened, more closely answering thy law, in a most perfect surrender and a most entire trust I wait. Beautiful. Thy voice showing me thy path. So there is no second thought. Kabir says in one of the dohas, uh, Sir Sahib ko saupte socha na kije sur. The warrior, once it is loyal to the Lord, for whom it is fighting, it does not even think twice uh, to offer the head for the Lord. It would not think again once that is decision has been made. सिर साहिब को सौंपते सोचा न कीजिए सूर. Sur is the warrior. Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, so this is the last prayer, and those of you who are wanting to share, have come out of the listening mode, can please share anytime whenever you feel ready. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to share something. Uh, Once, like about 6 months back, I was pulling my car out of the basement. Like my parking is in the basement too, and it was like really, it was just like the day hadn't broken then. Like I was going somewhere, and suddenly, when the day kind of like when the dawn happened, it was like, I mean, it when you actually witness it, it hits you really hard. Like what just happened, like how it was all darkness and suddenly there's light. So,
Yeah.
I mean, not saying this out of any arrogance, but in general, somehow, when I'm like obviously looking at life and reflecting and seeing mother through the prayers, knowing, getting to know her, in this also, I feel that now there's a pattern, right? Like of the rising and the getting up and the rise, sorry, like the falling and the rising, the falling and the rising. Like even in these four prayers, how it's like first she's going down, and of course when I say mother I mean like it goes inside us as well, right? Like the
Yeah.
ups and downs. And this darkness of the sunrise and sunset kind of made me think that how important it is, because being what we are, we just keep taking things for granted, right? Like if the sun was always out, most of us might not even notice it, but the
Yeah.
sunrise and the sunset, they force us, kind, because something new is happening, like the monotony is being broken. So the
Yeah.
light throughout gets kind of normal for us. We don't value or see what it's trying to show us. So again, I felt that the contrast was quite amazing. And it's like it kind of gives us new eyes to see again. I mean, we can choose not to see, but we
Yeah.
have that. And even in Savitri, how they always talk, how that dawn was given so much
Yeah.
importance.
Yeah.
So like this, whatever is kind of lasts long, we don't value it. So these breakings, these wake up calls, these
Mm.
darknesses,
Yeah.
like you were very beautifully saying, that they are actually needed. Like without that, it seems it's not even possible to get up. Like without falling down,
Mm.
it doesn't feel it's possible to get up. So again, when I was just talking about the patterns, again and again and again, it feels that it's not a doing, it's a happening, right? Like even yesterday in the Kabir session, the first doha that you had picked up
Yeah.
about that not the first, the sar kaatna wala, ki, how you have to let go of the head to actually see how things are working.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
again, that doing to happening, that connection within, again, that was very beautifully, like there's no choice, right? You reach a place where there's no choice but to
Yeah.
just, and when you have no choice, it dawns on you, right? It's not ke angur khatte the, the grapes were sour. It feels like that. Like I know some people who say that you move towards spirituality because you just can't take the pain, or
Mm.
it
Mm.
just seems too much, and because life seems so hard. It's not really like that, right? Like
Mm.
when you realize that yahan, it's actually the opposite, that
Mm.
when you can take the pain, then you go towards kind of spirituality. Otherwise, you kind of run towards it, right? Because it
Mm.
makes you see things in a different light.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think I went all over. There was a lot of commotion
No,
around.
no,
So,
no. It's perfectly in line. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Mm. Beautiful. I feel a certain slowing down is required, for those of us who are ready. And I'm sure we'll relate to this, that uh, that we need to engage in the worldly stuff, and yet we also need to remind ourselves of this sky which is forever there, as Taru was pointing at the dawn and the sunrise and the sunset, the even the noises that surround, the chirping of the birds during the sunrise and the suns, it actually pulls you towards actually your deeper being. If one is there fully, it is not a possibility that one is not pulled into the deeper state. It is not a possibility, and yet we still kind of ignore it time and again. And that is the journey from forgetfulness to remembrance, and then to the fuller manifestation of the divine essence. That is the journey. So again, uh, whatever helps us, whatever helps us on the path. Yeah, this is really beautiful. And the beauty is that the more we are available to the deeper depths in our being, the surety in our being that there is this fullness that we feel, that we cannot talk about it. The fullness is there, and one rejoices there, and then one engages again with the world, and it somehow brings more lightness, first of all, and also more energy, more vigor to do whatever is required in the external. If one needs to pick up a sword, one will not think twice or thrice or four times before beginning to pick up the sword, because one knows that it is necessary and one needs to do it. So that actually reinvigorates the capacity to go about with the world also, fearlessly, because then one sees that there is nothing to lose. There is nothing to lose. So why not hit the path which feels right? Yeah.
Just forgetting that you mentioned in the prayer, and that we see that, even obviously in our lives also, how it's like suddenly when the cloud comes and it feels that you're kind of drowning,
Yeah.
it's like just, it's so intriguing to and amusing to
Mm.
see how, it all works. That, like, mother is saying that the light is always there, and yet when the cloud comes, I
Yeah.
feel that it's, I'm just, what is happening, right? Like
Yeah.
everything is coming and moving me and making me, kind of going further.
Yeah.
So the need for that is also quite, yeah. And the intensity, the deeper and the, I don't know, the stronger the hammer hits,
Hmm.
the dawning also is, like, I think, then equally strong. Like
Yeah.
otherwise we just can't connect to the intensity of the situation.
Yeah.
Like it's like, like the light is there, but we don't see things. We just, I don't know, it's very odd how we don't notice what's going on, right? We just see what is just superficially happening. So
Hmm.
again,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
I had one question in this thing.
Hmm.
The second line where it says, "Let me stop all the play of these forces,
Hmm.
unify all these consciousnesses so that one alone may persist."
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Hmm.
here it's sounding like an active process, right?
Yeah.
Ki, let
Yeah.
me do this.
Yes. That actually occurred to me also,
Yeah.
that this should be addressed. Good that you bring it out. Very true. So, yeah, so for example, when I'm going through an intensity, I'm going through a real confusion, chaos, problem in life, for example. So there are, at the moment, I'll say there are two possibilities. One is to actively engage in the problem, in the confusion, try to resolve it there, and one sees that one cannot resolve it there. So that's why it's an active process, that mother is saying, okay, let me stop all the play of these forces. So let me stop that engagement with that external situation, unify all these consciousnesses. How would you unify that? For example, mother says, how would I unify? Let me plunge again into thee. So mother, instead of going out and correcting the external situation, she will plunge with all the mental, the feeling, the sensation, all the aspects, as if they are dipping into the honey of the divine consciousness, because one sees that there is no resolution to be found in the external situation itself. Just again that two lines from Kabir, door ko सुलझा raha hai aur sira milta nahi. So you're trying to resolve that knot, but neither of the ends of the thread are in your hands. So what you do is you plunge deeply again into yourself, and there you see that here I can hear the command, here I can understand. In that confusion, in that chaos, trying to resolve external things by engaging mentally with it, by engaging emotionally with it, I was not able to do anything. So so it's an active process. You are very true. It's Mother says that let me do that. So let me not go that side. Let me plunge deeply into thee, and there I will be purified from this ignorance, Mother says, which is for now not able to hear. The more I dip into that depth of awareness, of that calm and certitude, I will be able to hear, uh, which I'm not able to hear right now in this confusion and chaos. So that is what I made out of it, these 2, 3 lines. Okay, so let's go then to the last prayer, August 20, 1914. Who would like to read this?
Unless Shilpi's situation has changed.
Yeah.
I'll read the prayer.
Sorry, Eric?
Yeah, sure. I'll read.
Okay, I
Can you
think
hear?
Taru was reading. I don't know.
Oh,
So
please do. Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
don't know. So it's between the two of you. You decide.
So Shilpi, I don't think she's unmuting, so I guess I'll just go then.
Okay. Okay.
August 20, 1914. To see the goal from a new angle, which may usefully light up the others, we should constantly renew the experience of the inner discovery and return to the extreme limit of consciousness without any time postulating beforehand what the end of our journey will be. But instinctively, the mind remembers the impression that it received from one or from some of the former contacts of our consciousness with the ultimate center, and tells itself, that is what one finds at the end of the road. It does not realize that which is in its thought is only one of countless ways of translating the goal, or even of travestying it. Nor does it perceive that the intellectual conception should follow the experience and not precede it. To retrace the path in all innocence, as though one had never before travelled it, it is the true purity, the perfect sincerity, the sincerity that brings an uninterrupted progress, growth, and integral perfectioning, despite myself, in the silence of all thought, that is, of all conscious formulas, something in my being, deeper than words, turns to Thee, O ineffable Lord, in an ardent aspiration, giving Thee, in offering all its activities, all its elements, all its modes of being, and imploring for all these the supreme illumination, O Thou, whom I cannot think, but whom with certitude I know.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yes. So, we often the limitation of the mind is that it begins to form images, uh, and it feels that that is the only truth. The formation of images may be for certain reasons, very practical reasons may be required, but then we begin to use the mind where even the mind is not needed, and that's what is shared here. For example, where um, that when one is going through these experiences and uh, one touches deeply that extreme limit of consciousness, that pure awareness which has no depth, which has no shape, which has no form, which cannot be thought of, which cannot be talked of. The more we talk about it, the more limits we may just kind of put against it. So mother shares that instinctively, it's as if the mind is so perpetually habituated to do that. Instinctively, the mind remembers the impression that it received from one or from some other the former contracts. So for example, what happened is that maybe one goes through an experience and one touches this deep place in oneself. So the mind, what it wants, even this happens in meditative experiences, that the mind creates an image. Oh, that was beautiful. So we had an experience through meditation. The mind creates an image and refers to that again and again from the past. And then the mind becomes anxious. Why is that experience not repeating itself? So this is the trap we put ourselves into. And mother shares that we create, and the mind creates an image of the pure divine consciousness in our awareness. We create an image of itself, that this is how it feels, this is how the divine feels, this is how the deep depth of the being feels. And then one tells itself that that is what one finds at the end of the road. So we make a rigid picture of that divine presence or awareness or pure luminosity, whatever we call it by any name. It does not realize that that which is in its thought, the image that I have formed in my mind of that which cannot be talked about, it is only one of the countless ways of translating the goal. It is just one of the countless, infinite number of images can be there, right? One of the countless ways of translating the goal, or even of travestying it. Why? Because if it's as if that you are limiting the limitless in small little experience. You're trying to say that yes, I have touched the divine, and no, I know everything about the divine. This is how the divine should be touched, right? And this is how the divine appears. While the divine is illimitable, the divine is limitless, it's infinite, it cannot be thought of. How can on earth I say that whatever the thought perceives, whatever the image that mind has created, is the only image that is a possibility? So that is what is being shared here, that it is just an intellectual conception. And mother shares that nor does it perceive that the intellectual conception should follow the experience and not precede it. It means I have not even entered into the new moment. I don't even know what is lying there for me in the future or in the next moment. How can I have already a conception about or an image about that experience? How can I do that? And mother shares that the intellectual conception should follow the experience. So once I have an experience, a new experience, after that I may form an image about it. But when I am entering into a new experience, how can I go into that newer experience with an already preformed image in my head? I'll be already limiting that experience that is that life is presenting to me. For example, we think that we know fear, but do we really know fear? Every time we meet fear, we feel as if I know you. Hey, I know you, and we begin to run away from it. And this is why we are never able to truly know fear in its totality. So, Mother is sharing that when you meet an experience, when you meet a new challenge, when you meet a newer moment in time, can we do that without an image? It's a challenge actually, because knowing that we use the mind so abusively, even when we are meeting persons in our life, we meet them as if we know them in and out. So what we meet is an image of themselves. So an image meeting an image, there is never a total union. That depth, as if we are not able to touch each other through depths, because image clashing with the image. So that is what Mother is saying, that as if I am charting an uncharted territory to retrace the path. So you are going through experiences after experiences in life, and yet you are going through them in all your innocence. This is actually a challenge for us human beings. Putting the mind aside and plunging into that experience with all our innocence, as though one had never before traveled it. Oh, fear, let me see how it feels. I have no clue what fear is. Like that. Oh, anxiety. Okay, let me see how it feels. So full of wonder, full of amazement, full of curiosity and fascination to whatever life may be presenting to me right now. As if one has never traveled it before, is the purity and perfect sincerity. And that sincerity brings an uninterrupted progress, growth, and an integral perfectioning. So it is not a possibility that life is not filled with progress and joy and exploration if this is the attitude taken in as much capacity as one begins to feel ready, as and when we begin to feel ready about this exploration. You know that there is a resistance, yet you allow the resistance as if you keep it in your pocket and go ahead and take the plunge into this newer experience. Just like we dive into seas, people who like to dive, do this diving into the seas. So whenever they go into the sea, they don't say, one cannot enjoy if I say, oh, here I have been 10 times. There is no fun. Whenever you go into the sea, it's always a new happening that is happening. It is never the same, no matter if it's the same sea that you are plunging into. That's the beauty of exploration. And then Mother says, oh, thou whom I cannot think, whatever images I can think of, that is not that. And then what happens is, when we begin to have this contemplation, time for this silent contemplation, we fall actually back into a deep stillness and silence. The mind actually has to shut down its processes for that time being. Because mind can only make visuals and images. And oh thou, whom I cannot think. There is just a knowing that is present. A knowing that yes, it's there. A knowing that this is the right place to be. So one cannot have images about the divine. And this is what Kabir refers to as the Ram that cannot be talked of. एक राम दशरथ का बेटा, दूसरा घटघट में बैठा, तीजे राम का सकल पसारा, चौथा सभी से न्यारा. The fourth Ram which cannot be talked about, which cannot be thought about, and where the mind goes silent, the mind is absorbed into its source, the mind is absorbed into the stillness, the tranquility of the being. There, Mother rests her being. And then Mother offers everything to that space, that knowing, that certitude, there, where everything as if it will be washed of all the darknesses. Yes. So I think from my side, I'm done. Whatever you have at this moment to share would be welcome.
I think I'll go.
Yeah.
So, when I read this, the last part, like Shilpi and I, we had gone to New York City for the first time in the winter of 2005. And there we had gone to a Chinese restaurant, and in a fortune cookie, I got a slip which said something like this: "Ke life will be so much more beautiful if you do not try to complete it, before it's kind of reach its completion, if you don't try to define the undefinable." So to have that fortune cookie was quite, you know, kind of apt in this case, because usually it has really funny things, right, which don't mean
Yeah.
anything at least. So that
Yeah.
kind of, that everything has a place and stuff. I don't know. So
Yes.
that kind of stood out for me. And
Mm.
again and again throughout all the prayers, the first part of prayer too, I think, stood out for me. All errors, all misunderstandings must vanish in this whirlwind of destruction that is carrying away the past.
Yeah.
Like, actually, the past is supposed to be released, right? It's as if there's a flow of life
Yeah.
and things are moving past us, but we just keep, hooking onto things and pulling them back. And there's no way we can pull them back, but in this attempt of trying to pull it back to our present, we lose the present and the future.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
kind of everywhere it's like how if we could just let be, right? The newness, the purity, the freshness,
Yeah.
somehow we don't allow that. Like, if I talk about myself, I don't look at things in a fresh way. It's an effort to do it. Like, the
It is
path
an
of
effort.
least,
It is an
yeah,
effort.
the path
Yes.
of least resistance is just follow the norms, right?
Yeah.
Like you were saying that how we cannot, and you say that, quite often it's very beautiful to hear that we don't experience the things, right? The feelings, the emotions. We just like to kind of either bundle them somewhere, as in just say, "Okay, oh, I know. Fear,
Yeah.
it does this. Surrender, I've already surrendered." Kind like
Yeah.
we need to box it. But
Yeah.
even, in materialistic things, I remember while growing up, like my siblings, like we were four. So the eldest two were like, of a different generation, and after like 10 years, two more kids were kind of sent to earth. So whenever we wanted, me and my brother wanted to say, keep birds, so my siblings or my mom would say, oh, birds, they are really dirty and chirpy. We have done it. We don't want to do it. Okay, you
Yeah.
want a dog? No, 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 already kept it. It's a
Yeah.
rabbit. No, dog ate the rabbit. You don't want that. You will cry. Everything
Mm.
before we could experience it was kind of defined. No, no, you don't have to go through it. We have already done it and it's not fun. So
Mm.
I guess that somehow kind of, goes into everything in our life, that we just try to box it and say, "Okay, this thing check, done." So we lose a lot of experiences, or maybe what
Yeah.
we can actually, see or feel,
Yeah.
because we think we know, like you was talking about
Yes.
images again and again, and that's the topic for the Harmony Circle tomorrow,
Yeah.
that how we like to just we live in images, we interact with images, and I don't know how much, honesty there is And in this particular poem, one thing that really stood out for me, which is coming to me, in this part of my life again and again, this intellectual conception should follow the experience,
Yeah.
if at all, or maybe
Yeah.
it's not even needed and not definitely precede it, like, being analytical.
Yeah.
Like, this is one of my problem that I always try to, again, put things, try to make sense of things.
Mm.
But like when we talk about the divine law, the
Mm.
senses are different, right? The logic, I don't know, conclusions are different,
Yes.
and
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
it's not, it's just the dimensions change. You cannot go and talk trigonometry there or whatever. It's like you cannot explain it. Like even the last line, where it says, "Whom I cannot think," right? You
Yeah.
cannot put it in words, and but there's something inside you which knows.
Mm. Yes.
And
Yes. Yes.
there's a point of time before which, when people are saying, "What are you doing?" You try to argue.
Yeah.
I know this was a problem with me because I used to feel, ki, how can I am not be able to, I'm such a good speaker, but
Mm.
when people are asking me, I am not able to convince them of this side of me.
Yeah.
And suddenly there was this flip that I don't need to convince.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
anytime there's an argument or anything, I just, I have nothing to say. I just would say that I agree that we disagree. That's it. Like,
Yes. Yes.
I don't want to waste my kind of, like, maybe I don't know how to put it in words, and that doesn't bother me because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. 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 Beautiful. Yes. 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 There
Yeah.
is no need
And
to explain your stand. Yeah.
yeah, I
Yes.
mean, it's like, aisa lagta hai, it's as if you're kind of degrading it by even explaining it,
True.
kind of,
True.
because you don't know where, like, again, that thing that it cannot be defined. It was somewhere here, right? Whom, again,
Undefinable. Yes. Yes.
undefinable. So again, in Upanishads, I remember, Shilpi would remember too, we had attended some lectures. And in that, it was like the moment you touch it, the truth, being
Yeah.
ourselves, being where
Mm.
we are in this realm, I don't know in this realm, but being what we are,
Mm.
we cannot touch the truth. We cannot define the truth. We
Yeah.
cannot name the truth. The moment you touch something, it cannot be true.
Yeah.
So that's why the only process is, neti neti. Like in this also, the last prayer in which Mother says that thing that I asked you to elaborate, how it's an active thing of
Yes.
reaching out. Actually, it's not an active reaching out, it's an active letting go,
Mm.
right? That here I can't see it. So again, it's kind of neti neti in that as well. Being in the chaos, I will never be able to find the end. I have to step out, I have to move beyond.
Yes. Go
So,
within. Yes. Yes.
uh,
Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
That's,
Beautiful. Yes. Yes. Beautiful. This knowing is really something very powerful that you also just shared, that one just knows, and our steps are coming from that certitude, and it is not arrogance that is acting. It is a knowing that is acting, and this is what we call also as intuitively knowing your path. You don't have any explanation for that. People are asking you, it may appear totally illogical to them, and still there is this certitude in you which kind of propels you on the path. That knowing is something which is really very, very crucial and important, and something also, if I can say, uh, fragile, because one needs to actually take care of it, consciously being able to maintain a contact with that knowing, and all of us have that. Yeah.
yeah, so again, that effort, like every
Effort.
moment,
Yeah.
one has to kind of honestly, it sounds too much, but one has to choose, like, say, with this whole virus situation, right? Like, either you can be at peace inside, but when there's so many people around you, just, or news or anything, just telling and showing and giving examples and presenting you with different kind of data. So you can either kind of choose to see what they are showing, or I don't know, just or there's connect within, because there's something that is like that's all right, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
that jump again and again, again and
yeah,
again, like with myself personally, I don't even realize how I go back there. I don't
yeah,
realize how it's frustrating also if I don't know
yeah,
what. It's
yeah,
surprising that it
yeah,
feels that this thing, yeah, I think I'm okay now, I've got it. And
yeah,
again, you're back there kind of
yeah,
trying to
yeah,
protect and preserve, and
yeah,
yeah, so
yeah. Beautiful. And that's why, in these prayers also, especially in these four prayers, this frustration is also very visible, especially in the first one. And it's okay for the frustration to be there in all of us, not only about your life, and we face it every day almost, frustration. And I think it's okay. We can let it be. Because knowing that in the depths, there is already a certitude, there is already a fullness. So one plunges deeply in the middle of the frustration. I can touch that certitude deeply. That is the beauty, and that is the paradox of this universe, that in the middle of confusion, I am at peace. Can I access that space? Can I access that space? That is the beauty. And that is also a joy of exploration. And the sunset today is really very beautiful, and those of us who are able to see, please watch it. I don't know, here in Gurgaon, it's really nice. And I just clicked a picture to share with you on the chat window. Yeah, it's really very beautiful today, very nice glow. Yeah. It's like, again, as we were talking, the moment I capture the sunset, there is something that is reduced from the sunset. It's not the true image of the sunset that is happening right here live in front of me. And that is what was being shared. The moment, the nature of the mind is so limited that whatever it sees, it creates a limit around that. So it is, and that's why the mind falls silent when it touches the truth. जब मैं था तब हरि नहीं, अब हरि है तो मैं नहीं. मैं is the mind. Mind cannot be there to experience the truth. The mind falls silent. After that, after the experience has passed, the mind only will carry some past rotten images about that experience. But what is gone is gone, and what was touched was touched. Now images are not a live experience, and that's also is the beauty, and yeah, the paradox. Yeah. Okay, so we can end here, and thank you for traveling this path together, and we'll see if we want to take them later again sometime, or maybe begin something afresh and new. That's also a possibility. So thanks everyone for joining, for being there for the past, I don't know, maybe 18, 20 weeks. And yeah, it was fun. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. This was beautiful.
Thank you. Thanks, Arik. Thank you for being there. Thank you, Shilpi. Thank you. Yeah, same here. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.